Okay, so yeah, so this is actually the topic what we are going to deep dive in, which is all about securing the data in motion story. So if I have to dive a bit deeper in terms of the detailed agenda, so I'll start with some of the industry challenges which we are facing around data security currently. What's our approach on these challenges and how we try to solve it? Then I'll shift my focus solely on the data in motion technical controls. Once done, I'll talk about how can we support your unmanaged devices or the organizations who are having a BYOD strategy. Then we will combine everything what I would have spoken about, right, in terms of tools and technologies into a complete story, how we can actually leverage this thing, followed by a bit of information on DPDP compliance, because now this is going to be very, very important in the coming time. And lastly, we will also spend some time with Soa and understand his perspective from a CISO lens to get more perspective about it. Okay, so that's the whole agenda for this session. And with this, let me start with a bit of introduction about me. So I'm Rohit, and I work as solution architect for data security, right? My role requires a lot of interactions with the on-ground DLP ops team, understanding the challenges they face around protecting their organization's data, or the use cases they want to implement. So, more or less, my experience is more from a practitioner side, wherein I assist customers who may be from BFSI, who may be from IT, pharma, manufacturing, gaming, or any industry for that matter. That's all and all about me. And with this, let's jump on to a bit of a problem statement with which I want to start this whole session. And see, the problem statement is it's very, very fairly easy to understand. We all agree to this also, and it starts with that. See, data is now everywhere, right? It's constantly increasing. It's moving. Understanding the scope of the data universe is now actually becoming extremely difficult for any organization, irrespective of any size and scale, irrespective of any industry. The regulations are constantly changing and evolving, and most of the organizations are facing a challenge in terms of keeping up with those requirements. When it comes to GenAI, it requires data, it is based on data, but it can easily consume and expose the sensitive data in a lot of risky manners. At the end of the day, how can we ensure that we are maintaining compliance and confidently preventing sensitive data exposure? That's a bit of a problem statement which we are going to discover, right? And in the same context, as we keep on adding new and new products in our organization to safeguard our security, the resulting approach has become more disjointed and complex. The legacy, or the traditional approach of deploying siloed data security tools and technologies, that seems to be now broken. And why it doesn't work? Because see, since these tools do not talk to each other, while these are all best of the breed products from best of these OEMs, but since they are not talking to each other, there are visibility gaps coming up in these solutions, and the disjointed alerts which one gets, it actually leads to blind spots. Second problem, now there are multiple DLP engines triggered differently on a same piece of data, leading to inconsistent alerts. Now imagine an alert coming from a web DLP kind of a solution, another alert thrown by a DSPM solution, third alert coming from a CASB solution, and there is no correlation among all these things. It actually becomes a pain point for the team which is actually managing this entire data security issue. Then lack of correlation across products and alert overload. It further slows down the response times when it comes to the incident management. Exception management, which we know it's a necessary evil in our entire data protection story, that becomes extremely difficult in these situations. And on top of it, there could be hardware refreshes, there could be patching and maintenance cycles, which further add to the complexity and to the cost. Now, to solve these challenges, or where we step in, is so we built our data security platform in a way to secure your all sort of data everywhere with one unified approach. We cover all the channels, irrespective it is SaaS, it's IaaS, your data on public cloud infrastructure, AWS, GCP, Azure of the world, on-premise, web, email, anything to do with your GenAI. So everything is covered. You can start with what you need now, and then you can easily add more protections as you grow. So it's kind of a buffet. It's up to you what suits your taste, what suits your organization at one point of time. And as you mature towards your data security journey, you can pick and add more products and keep on adding it. We use AI-powered classification, which forms the basis for us to perform the data security or data classification in our organization. That's the base for us. What we do is we combine AI-driven classification along with traditional methods like keywords, regex, and contextual analysis. Now, this approach, it actually enables you to understand your data universe in a much better way. We'll talk about this in detail in the coming section. And from a control standpoint, we have out-of-band DSPM, or the data security posture management, which helps you in finding risks across posture, across access, and as across your compliance. And not only this, it also helps you in proactively fixing them. Then on the right, there are inline DLP controls to prevent data loss across channels with a couple of options, like you can monitor it, you can coach, or you can block the data movements. All this is layered within a unified dashboard, which becomes your one-stop location for DLP policy and visibility. Now, this actually improves the correlation part as well. And above all, there is a workflow automation, which helps you in simplifying the incident management or your routine data security operations. For example, doing a follow-up with a user that, hey, why did you perform this incident? Why didn't you inform us, or what is your justification in doing this kind of an exfiltration attempt? So all sort of routine data security operations can be managed with a limited staffing, and that completes the whole stack what we offer as part of today. While I have given you a complete overview of an entire stack, in today's session, I'll primarily focus on one of the areas, which is the data in motion portfolio, and which will actually help you in providing the complete visibility and control over your sensitive data across 4 different areas. The first area being any data which gets uploaded on a website or on a SaaS application. For example, it can be ilovepdf.com, or data going on OneDrive, data getting uploaded on Dropbox. The second is any sensitive data being shared with external recipients via email, for example, O365 or enterprise Google Suite. Then third, any data which gets downloaded or uploaded from an unmanaged devices, right? Now, this is primarily applicable wherein an organization support bring your own device policy, or it allows third-party contractors or service providers, to connect their personal laptops to an enterprise network. Fourth and the last, we have sensitive data getting uploaded on GenAI platforms like ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, etc. But since we have an upcoming webinar, which will be fully dedicated to GenAI security, so my focus for today will be on Web DLP, inline CASB, email DLP, and BYOD. So these are the 4 items which we will be discussing it out in detail. Okay. Now, starting with the first one, which is inline or Web DLP. Now, this control, it empowers organizations to protect sensitive data across all sort of cloud and internet traffic by providing real-time data protection. The reason I'm focusing on real-time data protection is because with our 150 data centers spread across the globe, we can actually decrypt and inspect 100% of the SSL traffic of your organization, whether it's going to SaaS, whether it's going to web or cloud applications. It works seamlessly across all sort of users, devices, locations, whether users are in India based out or based out of different geography, any sort of remote users. The policy enforcement remains consistent. You can scan the document content, structured, unstructured data. It can be attachments, it can be your JSON packets, or it can be the data in the form of images or the screenshots. The best part, this whole control, it is browser agnostic. So you don't need to worry about if a user is using Chrome or Edge or Firefox or Safari. Or even if a user is using curl command in command prompt to exfiltrate data, or a user is using any sort of browser extension or a plugin, the detection works seamless. From a detection standpoint, in terms of what are the constructs what we can use, so the DLP policies can be tailored basis the detection logic, which you can define in the form of keywords. It can be regex patterns. It can be exact data match. It can be index data match. It can be your Microsoft information protection labels, or it can be solely based on machine learning. So that's the capability of the inline DLP. And when it comes to creating a policy construct, like how or what can be protected, so you can create a policy basis a specific application also. For example, Facebook, as I'm showing in one of the snippet. You can also add multiple and conditions here, which gives you a very, very powerful and granular control. Like file type should be Word or a PPT or an Excel. The department type should be only IT department, only finance, or an HR department. Or you can define a policy based on the size of the file, the user risk profile, user's location, device posture, etc. Not only this, you can also create policies based on the time. For example, a policy will be effective only during 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or as per the office hours. So time-based constructs can also be added. And not to mention that since we are a man-in-the-middle proxy for our entire data traffic, we can even perform DLP on your file downloads as well. That's the capability what we have. And from a remediation standpoint, if I have to talk about, there are multiple options available, such as block, monitor, notify. So all these actions are supported. We can also use notification pop-ups, which you can actually use to coach the end users by displaying custom messages. Example, let's say a user is uploading a PII information on a website. And in fact, I've used that snippet on the screen also to make it more relevant. So we can set a DLP action as block and display a pop-up notification explaining the user about, hey, that you have violated our company's security policy. The whole, the textual context or the logo can be fully customized as per your requirement. So we can do a real-time user coaching as well. Extending the same example, we can use these notification pop-ups to ask a justification from a user that, hey, why you are uploading a sensitive information on a particular website. We are stopping you here. Could you please justify before you proceed? So a different way to coach a user and using a different set of an action. That's the first control which I wanted to discuss with you. Now, moving to the second technical control. So we have a full-fledged multi-mode CASB, which can be deployed either in inline mode or out-of-band mode. Now, since we are talking about data in motion, so the inline capabilities of CASB are more relevant for today's discussion. So what we can do is we can help you in discovering the shadow IT and risky SaaS applications across a comprehensive cloud app database, which I think it is close to 90,000 applications. So we automatically identify all your sanctioned, unsanctioned applications which are used by your employees, assign a risk score for each of these applications, give you a brief description of these applications that, hey, what this application is all about, where it is hosted, is it risky, non-risky, so that your IT team can make an informed decision on usage of such applications. If I talk about a detection logic, so you can utilize the same set of DLP policies as you have created for web DLP. So the same DLP controls are applicable to CASB also. The best part, you don't need to define these controls again. The detection logic is very common across the platform. So define it once, use it across the products. So that's the reusability angle. Not only DLP, you can apply highly granular controls for each SaaS application. I'll give you some examples, then I'll show you some snippets as well. For example, you can block access to a particular application. For example, I don't want Perplexity to be accessed in my environment, or I want to block Facebook. That can be done. Or provide read-only access to an app like, let's say, personal Gmail or personal Outlook to stop the data leakage. You can allow access to corporate O365 tenant, but block access to personal O365. That can also be done. You can allow your employees only to watch your corporate YouTube content and block any other channel. So these kind of combinations, permutations are possible depending upon what is the application in use. And this is how our SaaS discovery dashboard looks like, which is generated by inline CASB. So you get a glimpse of the total SaaS applications which are there in your setup, the amount of data uploaded, downloaded, the category of each application, how many users are accessing a particular application, what is the risk score of that application, on what basis Zscaler is claiming that, hey, this is a risky application and this is a non-risky. So the entire logic is also made available to you so you can take an informed decision. So basically what you get is a fully automated, a highly detailed dashboard of all your SaaS apps. Now, talking about few specific examples of granular controls, for example, LinkedIn, right? So for the HR department, we can create a policy to allow everything. For example, they should be able to view LinkedIn, they can post something, maybe a job description, they can chat with a candidate there, they can share a JD with some other potential candidates, editing, commenting, uploading. So all those things are possible. Okay. But for finance department, I can enable only viewing and I can disable all other actions. So this is one such example wherein LinkedIn has been selected as an application. Similarly, the examples or the controls will vary for different application. Another common application which we all use to a larger extent is Microsoft Teams, right? So I can allow Teams to get access in my environment, but I can control the chatting by doing a toggle between allow and block. So this will disable the chat option, or I can control the screen sharing also. So this is on Teams. If I have to talk about another application which is very relevant from a software development company, that is GitHub. Now in GitHub, we know that developers have access to a lot of buckets or repositories. So again, a lot of options available: viewing, uploading, creating of buckets, sharing of buckets, commenting. Everything can be controlled with these toggle buttons, and you can ensure that the GitHub usage remains within the boundaries as per your information security standards. Last example, which is again very relevant in today's era, because many organizations allow their employees to access their personal emails. So this is one such example wherein we can safely enable view only access, or send mail access, but disable uploading of attachments. So now you are sure that while your employee is still accessing the personal mail, but he or she is not able to attach confidential data of your organization and send it outside. So that's something on the CASB part. The next control which I want to talk about, which again is a part of the data in motion portfolio, is email DLP. Talking about this control, it's totally device agnostic. It works across managed or unmanaged devices. It can be desktop, it can be laptop, it can be Android, it can be iPhone device. Whether you are accessing Outlook via Outlook web access or thick client, it works seamlessly, fully plug and play into your existing email platform, be it O365, or it can be your on-premise Exchange or Gmail. It doesn't require any explicit MTA or any sort of hardware. We can coexist with your secure email gateway or SEG solution, be it Cisco Ironport or Mimecast, in case you have any such deployed. There is no change required in your organization's MX records. It's that fully plug and play integration. From a reusability perspective, you can utilize the same DLP dictionaries engines which you already created for your web DLP or your CASP. You can create granular DLP policies. It can be based on recipients. It can be based on domains. It can be based on the content in the subject line or the content in the mail body. So all options which are there in an email construct, those can be utilized to create an email policy. And depending upon your requirement, we can block an email, we can monitor an email, we can quarantine an email, we can encrypt an email which contains classified information. Lastly, from a reporting perspective, what you get is a detailed view of your top users, let's say, or top departments or top external domains where most of your data is being sent. So the reporting is again, it's very, very granular, and it is in line with what we have to offer as part of the web DLP reporting or the CASP reporting. So this is all about the DLP setup. Now, let me talk about very, very interesting topic, which is more to do with your BYOD or unmanaged devices. So let's understand, like, why an organization requires this strategy. See, in today's world, an organization may allow employees or third-party contractors to use personal devices for various reasons. One, it can be outsourcing of a business process. Many of us are doing business outsourcing with a lot of vendors outside, or we have our own documented BYOD strategy. That could be the second case. Third can be, there could be a case, let's say you have acquired a company and the integration of internal ERP systems like SAP or Salesforce is taking a lot of time. So in that case, also organizations allow using unmanaged devices to an extent. The legacy approach so far to support such scenarios was to either use a VDI or a virtual desktop infrastructure or a reverse proxy. And we all understand that these two technologies have their own set of plus and minuses. Why? When I talk about VDI, so VDI, we know it's infra intensive. There is an operational cost involved to it, and most of the time people are complaining about the latency issues. That's something on the VDI. If I talk about reverse proxy scenarios, so first of all, it works for very limited set of applications. Not every application can be deployed in a reverse proxy mode. And in case your URL gets rewritten, it actually breaks the application. On top of it, both these approaches, either VDI or it's a reverse proxy, these have a dependency on an agent to be installed or deployed. So here, what we have to offer you is we provide you a very great alternative to these approaches via browser isolation, which is totally agentless. In this approach, what we do is we allow users to access your corporate application within a contained or an isolated browser. We don't require you to install any specialized enterprise browser, nothing. You use your Chrome or Edge or Safari, what you have in your enterprise. It is only, the thing is, the data is not the actual data. What we are doing is we are actually streaming data in the form of pixels to that endpoint. But the streaming happens in such an efficient way that a user cannot differentiate that whether it's a real data with which I'm interacting or it's a stream of pixels. Your application remains fully interactive. However, cut, copy, paste, download, printing, all these things can be easily controlled or it can be blocked. Even we can watermark your screen. And since the entire traffic is inspected by Zscaler inline, so you get the same level of security as that of managed device. That's how easy it is to deploy. Another interesting use case of this concept, which in fact I have seen getting deployed in many of the organizations, is that uh, you can isolate the browsing traffic of those employees who are either new joinees or who are serving notice period, so as to prevent exfiltration to internet, whether knowingly or unknowingly. So you can deploy this concept in a totally different way also. Or let's say your business teams comes up with a request to open a website, which you as InfoSec team feels that, hey, this is risky from InfoSec perspective and one should not allow, but business still requires it. So what you can do is you can move that website or that SaaS application behind this isolation, thus achieving productivity as well as your security objective. So a lot of use cases which can be implemented using this as a concept. Moving further, so while I discussed about the technical controls, but we all as information security practitioners, we understand that data security program cannot be equated or cannot be considered as just another tool deployment project, right? Rather it's a journey. So this is my experience. I believe that it's a three-step process so as to secure your data in motion universe. Now, the step one, where as an organization, you must understand your data landscape. You should know what kind of data is getting uploaded via internet to different websites or SaaS applications, or getting exchanged via email channel. And the reason to say this, see, the reason is simple. You literally can't protect something what you can't see, right? And that's how getting the visibility of that data becomes very prominent. But one major concern which generally comes from visibility perspective is that someone has to classify the outgoing data before actually starting this whole data discovery process. That's the whole challenge. So you would have already written, or you will agree that you have to write rules, you have to write regex or create some sort of policies, which again is a function of a skilled resource, and it is also dependent, it's a time consuming exercise. So what we do, or how we try to help here is we actually simplify this task for you by performing automated machine learning based data discovery, so as to give you a high level visibility of all your sensitive data which is being shared with external world, so that you don't literally need to uh, perform that traditional data flow analysis method by going to different teams. You don't need to write a regex pattern. You don't need to hire a dedicated resource for all these things. So that's the part of the simplification what we can do for you. How do we do it? So what we do is, see, we leverage open source large language models, and these are the models which are capable of understanding entire English language. These models can read complete. They can, I mean, I would say these documents can read the whole document and try to understand its meaning and then classify it. Let me give you a very simple example to make it more simple to, to make it more meaningful here. So in this example, he ate an apple, or Apple released iPhone 17 or something. So in this scenario, while the word is apple, but the context is different. In one, first sentence it's a fruit. In second, it represents a technology company, right? Another example, what I can quote is, I need to go to bank to deposit money. We had a picnic on the bank of a river. So again, while the word is same, but the context differs. Now, traditional DLP tools, they fail in understanding this context. If you have a keyword-based policy here and the keyword is bank or keyword is Apple, what you are going to get is, while you will get an alert, but you know that this is a false positive. Right. So eventually what happens is when you deploy a large scale or rather when you run a large scale data security program, you actually ending up with getting large number of false positives. Eventually the board complains that what is the value coming out of this solution, right? So it equally adds to the frustration of the team which is on the ground. It actually also adds to the frustration of the CISO who has to face the board or who has to face the risk committee in talking about what are the additional controls we have received by deploying such a costly software, right? So, so what we have to offer here is we have a rich library of close to 200 plus LLMs or the large language models, which work across different classification categories. Now here we are not looking for keywords, we are not looking for certain patterns, but we are truly understanding the context of the document, wherein we can tell you that, hey, this is not just a finance document, but whether it was an invoice or a loan or a tax document. Or let's say if a technical document is going out, is it a design document or is it a SOP or it is just a user manual? For let's say for healthcare and pharma customers, what we can do is we can auto classify and differentiate between a doctor's prescription vis-a-vis a lab report vis-a-vis a therapy record. And in fact, so is true for our IT sector also, wherein we can intelligently use these LLMs to detect source code movement across maybe Java or Python or any other language. So the advantage, you don't need to create different policies for these things. The system automatically detects and give you a classification of that. That's the step one. Now, this step one is going to give you the complete visibility. Let's move to the step two here. The step two is, see, once we have the visibility, the step two is all about reducing the attack surface. So it's kind of an inverted pyramid approach, what we recommend our customers to follow. One of the key areas, what we know that which is actually required to stop data breaches is to block risky websites and the cloud apps within your environment. So within our ecosystem, using our proxy, using our CASB, what you can do is we can block access to risky websites. It can be PDF converters, it can be I love PDF, it can be WeTransfer or whatever. We can allow access to only your corporate OneDrive or corporate Google Drive and block all their personal instances by deploying tenancy restrictions here. We can allow a marketing team to access social media platforms and we can restrict it for the other employees. That's part one. And we can also restrict the data transfer by the content type. For example, we can block download of Python files or download of exe files or VB scripts. Or let's say you want to block the upload of password protected files by certain users or groups. We can also block file uploads basis its size. For example, anything which is more than 5 MB, that should get blocked. Anything which is a .SQL extension, that should get blocked. And then further reducing the attack surface, we then combine the power of the platform, the power of our secure web gateway, the power of web DLP, email DLP, CASB, browser isolation to solve all your modern day and complex use cases which could be there around data in motion. Now this becomes the step two of the journey wherein you are moving towards securing your data in motion. Now the third and the last step is uh, detecting a DLP violation is one thing, but how do we actually deal with large volume of DLP incidents which gets generated over a period of time after applying step one and step two? Now, can we manage these incidents in an efficient manner? Can we manage this entire show with a limited staff? Because we know staffing is a concern across everywhere, across every industry. There is a skilled resource shortage. Can we do some sort of an automation here? Do we have a single pane of glass for all sort of DLP incidents, which could be there across my email channel, my web channel, my CASB channel, or whatever? Can I measure the efficiency of my DLP ops team in terms of resolving a DLP incident? Are they taking 5 minutes to resolve an incident, or are they taking 2 hours to resolve one single incident? Are they doing timely follow-ups with the users? Or how can I take an advantage of the reporting? How do I present this data to my CISO? These are very common concerns here, right? So as part of the incident management, we support a lot of automation capabilities which address a lot of these problems. For example, you can create a workflow that if a DLP incident has been logged, a notification should be sent to the user automatically over email, or it can be Microsoft Teams or Slack. Or it can be a scenario that once an incident happens, it should get auto escalated to a user's reporting manager. Or, or let's say if a user or manager is not responding, rather than me picking up my phone and dialing that user, the system should automatically send a reminder on daily basis till the time it is getting closed. So your entire manual effort, which actually requires you to maintain a team of consultants just for doing incident triaging, just for escalating those incidents, taking follow-up from employees, that can be reduced to a larger extent. And this platform is so flexible. You can integrate our incident management with ServiceNow or Jira in case you are using these ticketing platforms. Or in case there is any third-party ticketing platform, we can expose this platform via API so that you can consume this information into your ticketing platform of your choice. Right. So with these three steps, I would now like to hand over the stage to Priya to take us on the journey of the DPDP compliance and enlighten us with her thoughts.
And thanks. I was really laughing when you were using those words, common face challenges, because the moment you
Yeah.
were talking about it in the morning, I exactly faced the same. And it was an insightful discussion. Let me take over, let me share my screen. Let me know once my screen is visible. My screen is visible.
Yeah, it is visible. Yeah.
Yeah. So Rohit, in continuation, and hi everyone, I'm Priya Gora. I'm as a mentor in Elite Depot. So with that capacity, I thought it would be a right to talk about as we are going for DPDPA. And though we all are part of compliances and regulatory compliances, and now we are having now a next step to Indian chapter is DPDPA, which we are expecting by 30th of September. Our fingers are crossed. But nevertheless, I think we all know what needs to be done. Yes, it will be great to have a act. We have an act now. In case we get it on 30th, that will be great. But we all from starting 2028, we all know about data. We all know about PII data and all different aspects of sensitive data. It can be PHI, anything. So when we talk about data in motion, the most critical aspect is the regulatory aspect of it. One, and I really want to start about it. The moment we see a role of, for example, DPO, I think the common understanding on ground, it is a data privacy role. It is not a data privacy role. It is a data protection role. Because whatever regulatory aspect of a data in rest, data in motion is, that's a regulatory aspect. But underlying to it, the expectation is that it will be protected. So with all native tools, cloud native tools, like Rohit talked about, we need to have that visibility and transparency that will help us with that, because one is regulatory aspect of it, meeting, because when you start on any project, the first thing is you get an RFP. Post RFP, you get into if RFP is clear, then you actually get into getting rid of that. The questions they ask nowadays, I can assure you with the example, 3 year back, they all used to talk about most about product, project, capabilities, and infosec, security, privacy used to be just some portion of it. Nowadays, it's 80% of security and privacy questions, honestly, that I'm dealing in RFPs and security questionnaires and the bid questions. There needs to be 2 slides about talking about what are you doing in with respect to data and trust, data in motion, with regulatory aspect of it and protection aspect of it. So on that note, just quickly giving you a glance what other as a generic regulatory aspects are expecting and what DPDPA is expecting. Nothing really different DPDPA is expecting. It is expecting us because we see data in 3 stages. We see it in data collection. We have to process that data. And then certainly, as Rohit also highlighted, we need to have a data deletion. These look like very 3 easy terms, but they are itself a subject in it itself, as you all know. When we talk about data processing in DPDPA also, it does further cover about things like data discovery, which is very critical. And then what I talked about, what as a protection aspect and measures we are getting into place. So the first aspect is data discovery. What I have seen by my experience, leadership, when we talk to management, they mostly ask questions around data discovery. Technical and security measures, they are very technical aspects of it. They understand it, that will be taken care of. But the moment we have to tell them, show them, discuss anything, the data discovery aspects really take care. And in case your organization tomorrow has to go in a DPDPA journey, or it has already somewhere in the middle because you already had few elements already implemented, in today's world, especially when AI is there, it is very important to have some tools. Uh, Partial will not work. I can assure you, I've worked in different levels of organization, mid-size, big, all of them. We need to have some tools that will help us with data discovery. Why? Because it helps you with, like Rohit talk about CASB. It helps you to kind of understand what kind of a risk are there, what kind of application your employees are using, what kind of, because in case you are not in a blacklisting kind of a mode, you're into whitelisting mode, you need to see what is being accessed, what you need to block, and at the same time you need to ensure there is business. Yesterday only one of the leader came to me and he said, see, I want to do this business but you have blocked it. Why can't you customize it based on the people? It was very easy for us. I said, hey, we don't know about this request, and in case you must have received to us, reached out to us, we must have closed it. Why we were able to say that with a very great confidence? Because it was just a matter of some tick for us. Okay, we applied the policy, we just enabled for them, and for rest of the people, it was there. So one, data discovery and technical security measures, because you have to customize it based on the needs of the business. The moment InfoSec becomes bottleneck for anything, people don't take you, they don't see you as a valued partners. So we need, for data processing aspect, data in motion, we need to have understanding of data discovery, and it has to be customized, as Rohit also showed in his various slides. And then we need to call that indirectly, directly helps us to putting in technical and security measures. So these are just three stages that also data interest and motion that DPDPA expects us. If we specifically look at DPDPA requirements, so it does talk about that you have to safeguard your data throughout the life cycle. So like for, in case your organization is already well versed about data life cycle, and in case it is a personal data, then with that identification, because DPDPA is applicable only for personal data, how you are ensuring safeguard of that personal data. For example, me as an employee, my data is processing through the whole channel of organization from the start of the time I give my resume till the exit. The whole cycle, me as an employee or for any vendor or customer who is giving that personal data to you for processing. Throughout that life cycle, it goes through various aspects of it. Under DPDP also, it is exactly similar that we need to understand first what is the data flow, the life cycle of it from data and rest to transit in out, that we need to understand, and then we need to safeguard it. Safeguard limitation, DPDP has not said that this is the, but it always says about all basic that can protect a personal data of an employee, of a fiduciary, all that aspect it does similarly talk about. And second is the basic aspects. It's clearly mentioned in there that you need to have technical controls. And now, as in today, the encryption is the best thing that we can have. It talks about in a very higher level, we have to segment network. We have to have a cloud, non-cloud segregation. Cloud should have effective controls in place. And before we are processing any personal data. DPDPA, it doesn't categorize it in a way that you need to put technology controls, you need to put process controls, people controls, and culture controls. It doesn't kind of classify it that way. But from experience, as we all know that the moment we talk about technology controls, we may have best of technology, cloud native solutions. In case processes are not well built around it, it doesn't give you the output we have. In case the culture and people aspect is not taken care of, who are using the technology and the process aspect, it doesn't give you complete output. So one side, data in transit and motion does talk about technical controls implementation, but underlying thing is with these technical controls, process, people and culture aspect can't be ignored. They need to really coexist with each other, will be my suggestion. And for example, such tools, DPDPA talk about, we should have an explicit consent, and it has to be based on the data type, data classification. So it is still giving us not the clear idea about it, but still it talks about that you have to be, consent has to be explicit. So how will we understand what is critical, non-critical data? Somewhere, some tool needs to kind of help us with this categorization, labeling. And on top of that, you can differentiate what is critical, what is a regular raw data, structured, unstructured, and what is PII data. And then with that classification, then you put controls on those places. You have to bucketize it. For that bucketization, it is very important to understand the classification. And that comes through the tools. Manually, it becomes almost impossible to do it. And then based on that, for example, Central Government of India for RBI, etc., they have further rules and regulation with respect to domains, technology, domains. They all have different, finance has different, telecom has different, healthcare has different. On top of that, there are DPDPA requirements, and then there are domain-specific requirements, which respective domain has to interlink. So DPDPA is the underlying element. On top of it, domain requirements also and regulations need to be taken care of. So it's a huge data. And for that huge data in transit, understanding where it is going, giving you logs at the right time, and at Rohit rightly highlighted, one is log. And we have to see also from breach perspective. Tomorrow, if there is any violation or breach, we should have right maps, right tagging, right, it should give us a right reporting in terms of incident details, timestamps around it, so that we can actually go back and see, and that organization who's using these tools, they can safeguard their interest. In case the logging is not effective, I can assure you it's a different kind of a challenge. Because the first level of breach, you yourself should be able to identify, because you have to contain it first. In case you don't have tools, cloud native stuff, where you go back and you understand where was the problem, immediately you need to plug it off. Then the second aspect of corrective and preventive action comes in. That kind of a visibility is possible, and DPDP also expects us to, within 72 hours, we need to control it, and we need to inform the respective data fiduciary that we have taken a immediate action, and we may have to inform the board also. So we don't have any magic wand. We need to rely on a system. We need to see such systems that give us that kind of an input, that give us such kind of a control, logging, monitoring, where we understand what has happened, and it help us to immediately contain it further. Because the timeline from DPDPA is 72 hours, they are not going to change it, that is for sure. So that are two critical aspects. One is DPDPA, and I'll just take few minutes more. It's like for cross-border data in motion. For DPDPA, I'll explicitly talk about it. Though as of now, government has not shared any negative list with us, but they will. And at the same time, then again, we need some mechanism, as I was talking about, where we need to allow some and stop some. We need to whitelist some countries. We need to blacklist some country. Manually, it's impossible. So we need a mechanism, a tool where data is flowing through, and it understands based on the configurations we have added, and it stops and allows based on the negative list that DPDPA is allowing us, without we much thinking about it, oh, what is going through. Yes, we can improve the policy sometime, but at least the regulatory aspect, we need a system where whenever data is flowing, that the regulations, whatever we have put with respect to cross-border data in motion for DPDPA, it should easily be able to help us with this. We shouldn't be able to kind of have to really have sleepless nights around it. So this is a very critical aspect, and we are expecting to receive a negative list. We had a meeting last week, and I didn't heard anything about this negative list they talked about. They again were not, they kind of, I'm not sure this list will be readily available in case we have rollout on 30th September, but at least they said there surely will be a list. And all the other aspects like transfer agreement, documenting of all the storage logs, how long we are expected to keep logs for legal hold, etc., etc. We discussed about those details, but as Rohit was highlighting, it is one about data in motion and where it is going, what is the retention around same. Again, we can't just go to one document and keep it for 20 days and come for 200 days. We need some policy around it. We need a system that can help and enable organizations to set that policy and let the system do its work. So those all aspects are basic expectation of DPDPA. What they are expecting further, these tools can help us. But on top of that, regular audits, monitoring the logs, process improvement around it, in case we find any risk, mitigating that, that is certainly in our control. We as a DPA group or as a DPO group need to take care of that. Last one point I'd really like to re-emphasize, all these tools are awesome. What process we create around these are awesome. Till your personal associates are not trained well, will not see a great value in this. So always, whenever we look at any tool, my request is to look from a holistic perspective of technology, people, and process aspect of it to get a better effective output. That was all from DPDPA perspective. Any questions in the Q&A session? I'll be glad to take that over.
Thank you, Priyaji. Thank you, Rohit, for such a wonderful session. Before we actually move ahead, I actually want to invite Suvatra Sinha to share his point of view from a CISO about this data in motion point of view. Over to you, Suvaji.
Thank you, Sulabh, and thank you, everyone. So we heard some great points of view from I know from Rohit and from Priya. To summarize and add my context to it, is that we now agree, number one, that detection is becoming more and more difficult. Why? Classification is becoming very difficult because of the diversity of content and diversity of formats. Assurance on context and doing data protection in motion based on context is a key challenge. Structured versus unstructured data is becoming more and more skewed in favor of unstructured data. We discussed this in the last session as well. Derivative content, things like partial copies, screenshots, like OCR documents, things like that that require fingerprinting and more sophisticated tools to enforce data protection policies, especially in motion, is also becoming critical. And lastly, granular control and assurance on granular control is also a key challenge. Interestingly, the opportunity today is that with AI and algorithmic scanning and algorithmic policy enforcement, all of these are becoming much, 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 much easier. So while there is a challenge, we also see that there is good news that's coming up. We heard from Priya that it's not just the technology, it's also important to have policies and governance to be equally effective. Otherwise, whatever the heck the technology throws up, either we will not be able to manage the scale operationally or will not be able to manage the complexities operationally. And lastly, we will not be able to provide assurance that the regulators need in a way that they need it. Right? So again, we have to avoid policy fragmentation across CASB, email, web, endpoint. The more you fragment, the more difficult it is to consolidate and run consistent policies. Policies and monitoring at scale, the tool should be able to do that, but your organizational capacity to manage both the true positives and the false positives that come up is equally important, right? Because if it throws up 15 violations a day and your HR and legal teams don't know a shit thing of what they need to do with it, then what's the point, right? I mean, your entire structure will fail. Change management versus user friction, we have to manage. Again, coming to Deepa's operational point of view, too much user friction, the tool will culturally fail. Too lenient, will be missing the big ones. And lastly, incident triage response, all of these need to thread into the tool that you deploy. Again, to summarize, I would say that operationally, so technologically, AI and Gen AI both providing challenges, but also providing solutions, especially with tools like platforms like Zscaler. Federated identities, multi-tenant SaaS, covert channels, these again, are making more and more difficult on how you enforce data in motion controls, but also makes it using AI-enabled tools like Zscaler makes it easier. And last but not the least, the DPDPA Act the rules will soon be notified, sooner rather than later. And any tool that you implement, any platform that you implement, all the processes that we implement, we have to keep in mind that at the end of the day, we have to be able to assure regulatory controls and regulatory requirements. Because if that does not work, rest of the structure, it may be effective, it may not be effective, but will not, in the moment of truth, we will not be able to use it fully. With that, I hand it back.